This episode is brought to you by Topper Jewelers. Y'all know that we are a huge fan of Toppers for their expertise in almost 20 watch brands that they offer. But did you know that they also carry an amazing selection of pre-owned watches as well? From higher-end brands to micros and everything in between, Topper Jewelers has curated a collection of pre-owned watches in excellent condition that are offered at great values from a trusted source. Check out their website at www.topperjewelers.com each Friday for new pieces added to their pre-owned selection. How's it going?
What's going on, Kat? You didn't say welcome to the show.
Oh, shoot.
How dare you mess up
How dare I?
A little bit of an intro that
was that our intro?
That's
I've
all
already
we had
screwed
was,
it up.
hey, everybody, welcome to the show.
Damn it.
What the
Start
hell?
over.
We're going to blame Dree so much. It's fine.
Yeah.
We got this.
It's whatever. You know, we like to shake things up around here.
That's what we're going to call it. Shaking things up. And speaking of shaking things up,
yeah.
we're like not alone today. Well, we're together, but then like we're not on the podcast alone today. Somebody should have cut me off at Margaritas.
We should. I should have.
Irresponsible you.
But yes, we have a guest on the show today. We have an Instagram amazing photographer out in the Bay Area, editor at a blog to watch, avid cyclist. The list goes
cool
on.
Things.
All the cool
like,
things.
If you
basically.
could think of any cool thing to do,
he might be the coolest person on Instagram.
Is he?
To me.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I would kind of agree. I think so.
So welcome to the show, Zachary Piña, over from the Bay Area. How are you today?
Oh my gosh, what an intro! I think I'm just gonna hang
that
up
was
the
like
phone.
a heavy intro.
Yeah,
actually.
I'm gonna hang up. I've heard all I need to hear today. let's
done.
Let's end this on
And
a high
that's the end
note.
of the podcast, guys.
Oh my gosh, it's an absolute treat to be here. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I've been a big. I can't remember how I first heard about you guys. Honestly, it was probably Rob at Topper was like, "Hey, you need to listen to what these ladies are doing down in Tennessee." I'm pretty sure Rob introed me to you at some point. So
we love Rob.
Yeah, Rob is the best.
Rob is the best. He's the watch fam godfather here in the Bay Area, and
oh my gosh, I love that nickname.
I feel like his reach has kind of become more national and kind of global as well. But so it begins.
For real. Rob is amazing. Yeah, he's introduced us to so many people. And yeah, it was a bummer we didn't get to meet you when we were out.
I know.
When was that? It was December,
It was
right?
December, yeah.
It was December. I moved. I might have been in New York. I couldn't tell you. I was on the road for. I think I flew almost 100,000 miles last year, and I couldn't tell you where I was in December.
Oh, wow.
But I know I remember missing specifically. Oh, I was in Mexico because you guys were on hand for the Laco launch, the Laco Topper edition in December.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, I was in Mexico.
Yeah.
I helped launch that watch from an Airbnb, like on the beach. Maybe I won't say so much about it, but yeah,
a struggle.
it was
sounds awful.
it was a struggle.
The worst.
Yeah, I hotspotted my
Man,
phone.
How do you live your life? Gosh, the absolute worst.
It was really terrible. Yeah, on the beach in Spuha.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I remember seeing pictures. You were with your wife was with you, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it was actually it was for her birthday, and to be fair, it was supposed to be a non-work trip, but going into it, I was like, hey, so
well, you know how that
Is there anything
yeah, exactly.
not a work
There's
trip?
no such thing. I mean, at any given point, though, like even when the two of us are out, we did a big backpacking trip in Glacier National Park last year as well, and even then, so So my wife is a yoga teacher, and she runs a yoga business now out of our living room. So our living room looks a lot different than it did 4 months ago. But we used the trip to Glacier to produce content for her yoga channel and for a women's watch brand that she's an ambassador for called Addington. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Abingdon. They make some cool like lady adventure watches. So yeah, we did a bunch of stuff for Abingdon and Glacier. Yeah, so it's kind of no matter whether it's a work trip or not a work trip, everything invariably becomes like, you know, a chance to create unique content, which is great.
We know how to.
The content.
Content. Yeah, exactly.
This is what I'm hearing is that we need 10 and 2 trips specifically for content. It's not our fault that we're at the beach or we're hiking in the mountains.
Yeah.
Like we're doing it for the gram.
For the gram.
I'll try to tell my husband that.
And I didn't I
Jonathan, get on board with us.
Didn't I see like a dope photo of you in a Jeep or something? Like you should do some 10 and 2 like overlanding trip or something. Like,
we
should.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We definitely should.
All the field trips that need to happen.
Yes.
We're getting on it.
How far are you from the Smokies? Forgive me, I don't know a ton about Tennessee. Like geographically, I know the mountains are cool and kind of moody.
It's like 3.5 to 4 hours away.
It depends on what part of the Smokies you're going to,
Yeah.
like how deep in you want to get.
Okay.
But I think like Pigeon Forge, like that kind of area is like 4.5 hours.
Oh my God. Okay.
Like Knoxville is 3 hours, and then it's shortly outside of that.
So I've never been to Tennessee except I've been to Pigeon Forge to Dollywood a very long time ago when I was a teenager, and that is the extent of my like Tennessee knowledge. I've mountain biked in North Carolina, and I've been to a bunch of the immediately adjacent states, but for some reason my only Tennessee experience is like the dinner theater at Dollywood. Yeah.
You have to, I feel like that's the most like Tennessee tourist thing. Like Nashville's cool, get drunk on Broadway, buy cowboy boots, but then take those cowboy boots, drive 4 hours and go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and go to Dollywood, which is the most, I can only imagine what other people think when they visit Dollywood. Like,
they're
if
like,
you're
where
from
are
the
we?
city, like you have to think it's the most like redneck trailer park experience, and they
It's
love
the best.
it. They love it.
Like Dollywood now it's like a legit amusement park. It's pretty awesome.
That kind of blew me away. Yeah, it's a straight up a straight up amusement park. That's the best way to describe it. It was a unique dining experience. I remember the food was super good. You know, I'm from Michigan originally, and it's funny because Michigan is no slouch in the redneck department for sure, but it's just a different type of redneck, I think, and it's just
Northern
funny.
redneck and Southern redneck are very different species of redneck.
Exactly.
To be clear, and you went to Dixie Stampede, which is a whole other layer of redneck.
Oh my God. And you can tell by the types of camo that people wear. Where in the North, the camo is very high function camo, where you're like, you know, kids go to school wearing like full real tree, you know, caps and overcoats and jackets and stuff. I'm not sure what it's like in the South, but it's just a different kind of camo. I feel like different application. That's how you tell.
That's a good way to like
differentiate where you're from.
That's right.
I am the worst Southerner in the world in that I do not own a single thing that is camouflage anywhere in my house. Go look through my house. There's nothing camouflage at all. I take pride in that. Like Tyler brought home a camouflage hat one day from his other house, and I was like, no, like you can take that back.
Straight to
I
the trash.
pride myself on camouflage is such a fashion trend too. Nope, was not participating.
I'm like really picky about it. Like I don't like all camo. Like I'm not a huge fan of like the real tree stuff, but like the like vintage army camo.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that look.
Both of you guys have camo watch straps, and I'm obsessing over them. But I'm so anti camo that like
I think you could pull off a
having
strap.
like an existential crisis. Like I'm so torn on if I stay true to myself and my camouflage hating self, or if I give in for the watch fam.
You're all
for
about,
the gram.
You're all camo's bad for your brand, but you gotta you've gotta. I don't know. So I'm a huge like I wouldn't say like military history buff, because I feel like being like the military history guy is the same as being like, oh, I'm a fan of like microbrewed beer. I'm like, okay, sure, this is like every guy is into these boring things. But to be fair, like I used to write for Hypebeast actually way back in the day, and I covered a lot of street fashion, and then that was actually the first time I started writing about watches early on, was when I was doing Hypebeast stuff. I was a bike messenger in Salt Lake City. I just moved back from Japan, and I was writing for Hypebeast to because you can't make money as a bike messenger anywhere in the world, but so I was moonlighting as this writer, and I spent all this time going way down the rabbit hole on not just street fashion but also watches and sort of where they sat in the pantheon of style and stuff, and ended up getting really into, because these were kind of during the days of like Supreme and Bape, and when those brands were all over camo, and camo kind of comes and goes every 10 or 15 years kind of in the fashion cycle. And just the cycle that I was paying attention to at the time while I was a writer was the Supreme Bape era. And I ended up going so far down the rabbit hole, like the origins of it. I did some of the first like long form content Hypebeast has ever done about because I started a series called Materials and Patterns. You can find it if you.
Oh wow!
It's a 2,000 words. I wouldn't say it's very well written, but it's a 2,000 word story about like camo. And from then, I mean, to your point about liking some of the vintage styles, there's some amazing, really imaginative, cool patterns that kind of draw from real world applications for, disruption, essentially. There's different types of camo that either disrupt or conceal or do, and all of these patterns essentially come from the animal kingdom, which I love. I mean, they have a military application, yes, but to go before that, they come from nature, and I'm all about the nature aspect. And so to come back to watches, I love the stuff that's not overly military, but more like that vintage, natural inspired pattern. So yeah, Realtree is out. The like hot pink and black and white camo is out. And for some reason, camouflage doesn't trigger my color OCD either. So I feel like I can put a camo strap on literally any dial color, and I think it looks kind of dope. Because there's, if you get the green right, you
strongly disagree.
If you get the green right, it goes with blue, it goes with black.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on the pattern. It depends on the pattern.
It
digi
does.
camo, I can't. I'm not.
I don't like the digi either. I'm not
Sounds
there
like we
yet.
have a counterpoint, though. What's the counterpoint? You disagree, it goes with everything.
I'm going to have to look that
Hard
article
pass.
up. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, actually.
Oh man, hard pass on it.
One day, Catlin.
I might break down and do a camo strap.
I think you can do it.
We'll see. Everybody thinks we're kind of redneck anyway, so why
Just
not?
give in.
Just give in. Just gonna get a beer gut and drink a bunch of PBR.
You might like it more than you think.
I'm afraid that I'll like it more than I think. And then I'll start buying camo t-shirts and tops. And it's going to start this whole thing. And then y'all are going to see me out in public and you're going to be like, oh, I can't even see you. You're all blended into the trees in the background.
Yeah. It starts with a watch strap and it ends in camo yoga pants. If
I get to camo yoga pants, somebody stop me. If I'm asking, I know some of my girlfriends listen to this podcast for whatever reason. God bless y'all. But if I walk into the gym with camo yoga pants, stop me. Pull me aside and say, girl, let's talk. Let's have a heart to heart.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Well, so Zach, how have things been up there? I mean, I know you're in Marin County, correct? Which I will say is one of the most beautiful places.
I'm so jealous of everything you do every time on Instagram. You post the most gorgeous shots just going for a walk or going out riding, and I'm just like, well, this is ridiculous. Nowhere here looks like that.
We had Blaine, and he's part of the Watch the Bay group over there, and he gave us this driving tour of San Francisco Bay Area. I think he grew up in Marin County as well, and he took us up there, and it was just it was from
beautiful.
a fairy tale. It was misting outside. It was just great for shots too.
We were also not prepared to be out in the woods taking watch pictures.
Yep. You should have seen it I got married in April 4 years ago, and the weather was good, and so a lot of people came out from the Midwest, and they were like, cool, California in April, no one brought jackets or anything. I'm like, you guys, it's actually really very cold here all the time.
I know, that was so surprising.
Yeah, I I live just across the Golden Gate Bridge, and as you know, you guys did in your tour, it's there's the thing that I love most about Marin is there's incredible like terrain and climate variety. I mean, you know, in the middle of the summer, I can leave the house and it's 85 or 90 degrees, and then go climb up on the mountain and it's misty and raining up there, and then on the top it's super warm, and then on the descent on the other side in one of the valleys there's a pocketed microclimate. I mean, it has this the total diversity in climate, and I mean even the flora and fauna. Like we have proper mountains here, we have the ocean here.
You have
there's
all
a palm tree
of the
in my
things.
yard, but there's like massive evergreen redwood trees in Muir Woods, which is 5 miles away.
We were on the beach, and then like an hour later, we were in the middle of the forest looking at these redwoods, and I was just like, "What is going on? This is insane."
Yeah,
you have everything. Like I always say that, like if I moved somewhere in the U.S., like I'd say to the South, like I'd really like to move to like North or South Carolina because you're really close to the mountains and you're really close to the beach. Like you can live, you know, you're so close to either, but you really have everything in your backyard.
Yes, I know. It's not
10 and 2. We're moving to California.
Take 10 and 2 on the road, and we'll go up Highway 1 and we'll get oysters. We've been talking about doing like a watch the bay like oyster run.
Wow.
And the Hog Island, which is kind of the big oyster company here that's on Tamales Bay, just opened a couple weeks ago finally. And because they're in a picnic scenario, there's no like dine in technically. It's like kind of business as usual there. So anyway, the next time we have a good topper launch, and you know, you guys come out. I need to plan my life a little bit better so that we can
I know a blog to watch is like the small media thing. But 10 and 2 is coming to town, so if you could put that on hold for us, please.
That's right. I would be honored, believe me.
Oh, that's amazing.
No, it's been good. We you know, as far as the US goes for COVID response, the Bay Area was early and swift. And we are slow to open and late to open as well. You know, lots of face coverings. I ride with a bandana now that I, you know, kind of pull up as I pass people or and stuff. So I mean, that's been pretty normal. It's been weird though because I've been working from home for the last 2 years, 18 months, so more or less, and none of this has really. It's strange. It's strange to say that it's not been different, but it's been different in the sense that a lot of the activities and things that we do or can't be done now. But you know, I try to ride 5 or 6 times a week, and this has actually been a really good time to be a cyclist because there's less traffic on the roads. The air quality is dramatically improved. Most of the interesting trails and stuff are closed, and so even though you can't drive to the trails and park and hike on them, so a lot of trails that probably shouldn't be saying this, but like a lot of trails that you're not supposed to ride or not allowed to ride, they're not ticketing people for riding them because there's no one else on them, and so
we won't tell anybody.
It's been a really fun time to be a Strava poacher. Which, I mean, I know a buddy of mine did an 80-mile ride on this like really beautiful coastal hike. It's a hike that goes down the kind of Point Reyes seashore. It's super overgrown right now, but he pieced together this epic day of like he just poached like 25 miles of coastal trail, like coastal single track, which. I mean, on any given Sunday, you know, you get stopped by a ranger in 10 minutes. So it's just kind of the state of things right now. It feels very much like I Am Legend or something. You know? Not so much anymore because you know, a lot of they've been slowly kind of reopening some of the trailheads, at least the parking lots. But Mount Tam, which I'm sure OT took you guys up on, Mount Tamalpais. The whole top section is still closed at both ends, and so that is still this kind of unspoiled point to point, you know, cyclist paradise. So
wow, yeah,
it's been fun. Honestly, I'm gonna miss when some of those things open up again. But I have really fond memories of the first, you know, 2 weeks of all of this, where on one hand I was stressed out of my mind as the rest of the world was, and we were all grieving, you know, the loss of normalcy, but at the same time the bicycle has always kind of been my own sort of in-home therapy, and I would go out and not see anybody. I'd go and ride 80 or 90 miles and see 3 cars.
Oh, that's nice.
Those first
That's
2 weeks were
crazy.
so amazing. Yeah, there was just nobody out. It was so cool. So it's not the case anymore, but
Yeah.
No, we learned that today going to lunch. Like, there was traffic for me coming over to Kat's
Yeah.
house. I was like, why are all these people on the interstate?
Oh,
What is
man,
going
I know.
on? Oh,
And it's
man.
funny how quickly we adjusted to like that luxury of there not being anybody
know.
out. It's like, who are all these bozos? Like, go home.
I am in trouble. So I've been back at work for a few weeks and our work hours are adjusted. So I come in later in the morning and I have all morning, but I still if somebody hits their brakes on the interstate, I'm going to be late to work. Like, I leave exactly. I'm pulling in the parking lot and like running inside, and I'm there at 10:30 in the morning. And the other day, there was traffic on the interstate, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Like, y'all are making me late. This is ridiculous. Well, aren't y'all supposed to be home? God. Irresponsible.
Oh my God, I can't agree more. I'm so happy to hear that you guys are in the same room together, though. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like that. I was expecting this to be a three zone call, and so
We are back together again.
Yeah, even we took a few weeks. We took probably about a month
I think we
off.
took a month
and
off,
we,
yeah.
we recorded separately. But the reality was that we both isolated very well, and so like we would get together and Kat was really the only other person that I saw other than my son for like a month. And it was, yeah.
wow.
I mean, I feel like at some point you do need to, of course you need to be safe. Like that's
yeah.
the most important thing. But there really is something about human interaction. And if you can make that work safely, I think that you should kind of attempt that in some way, shape, or form. Like the Zoom calls
No,
are great.
I
Phone
totally
calls,
agree.
FaceTime is great. But like I really got to a point where, I don't want to use the word depression because I feel like that's a very heavy word to throw out there. But like my personality was very different for a while. And I feel like I'm
absolutely.
starting to get more regular again now that I'm back at work and at the gym, but it's still it was very hard. And I had Kat, I had my son at my house half the time. So but people who were legit alone, I could not imagine that
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think, I agree that depression is maybe a heavy word, but like, and I say we kind of as a collective whole, we were grieving. I mean, it was really, like I said, my time off the bike when I wasn't working or wasn't doing these other things, like, it was really, really hard. And it was interesting because for the first 3 or 4 weeks of this, my wife was actually down in San Diego. She got caught in a yoga retreat. And so she couldn't come home immediately and had to finish out because she was with people that had traveled to San Diego from international locations. And so they had to let the 2 weeks pass before she could move around as well.
Yeah.
And I had just come back from New York literally 4 days before all of this started. And I was in a room with, people from all over Europe and Asia and the United States in New York City at what was very quickly becoming, it would be a hot spot less than 10 days later. And so I also self-isolated for 2 weeks, and those were like some of the roughest 2 weeks of just not seeing people, not being around people. That was super hard. And after 3 or 4 weeks after that, and Jody had come back and we'd kind of readjusted, I was able to had kind of a training partner for cycling, and you kind of build your quarantine, so to speak, with people that have been
people that
self-isolating
have been,
and exactly. And you absolutely have to.
It's good for, physical health is so important, but mental health, I feel like, is something that a lot of people don't talk about during this. And it was good for mental health just to have a break, be outside of the house over here, where I knew Kat was self-isolating and her husband was as well. He was working from home. So it was important.
I think and I'm glad that more people were having the mental health conversation during all of this, because at the end of the day, like, physical health is important, but oftentimes, like, as anyone who exercises can attest to, like, oftentimes you need your head right to be able to be motivated to get your body right. So these things have to be coalesced. Anyway, I'm glad we're past that, I guess. Maybe
we're getting there. I think
getting there,
everybody's
We're
just
getting
trying
there.
to get there and
Yep.
do it the best that
Yep.
they can. So
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I agree.
But yeah, how long have you been cycling? Because I noticed, I mean, you said that you were cycling quite a bit during the quarantine, and I would see it on, I feel like I stalk your Instagram.
Everyone does.
like I'm like, oh, he posted a story. Let's see what's going on, because it's probably some amazing read. What do you take a camera with you when you go out cycling? First of all, most important question. Because
do.
You're, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, these are not iPhone
Oh,
photos.
trust me, I've already drilled him. Like, I've sent him so many DMs.
Yeah.
Like, what do you have? Like, exactly what are you using?
What do you have that you take out cycling? Because I feel like it has to be small, right?
Yeah, I'm super cheating. So I have I shoot with a Sony RX100, and there's a lot of really great, there's not a lot of really great cameras for riding with. There's a few kind of schools of thought as like what the best option is. And I ride with a few guys that ride with a heavier camera and they just sling it over. And it's really hard to keep a camera. I have there's one company that I like called Metal Cycling, METTLE, and they actually make a cycling specific strap for like a Fuji X100, something kind of that size where it's a little bit too big to put in your jersey pocket. But
Yeah.
not, it's not so big that it requires a special strap for it. And the design of that is to keep it from like flying around when you're in the drops or moving around. But ultimately, like slinging a camera over your back is like no strap, at least no strap that I'm aware of. It's kind of like it's kind of like who can be the best of the worst. Like it's not a great solution it's a very imperfect solution for a very big problem. So I love the RX100 because, I mean, this particular camera, this version that I have is a 24 megapixel sensor, so you can kind of crop things as you need. Fits in a jersey pocket, and it's got a great zoom. I mean, it's not super sharp, but I feel like for Instagram, like it's a wonderful little camera. And what I found is that like I don't shoot very much if I'm doing harder training rides, but some friends of mine have kind of started this thing called photo pace, where like there are photo pace rides where you just chill and stop all the time and eat snacks and take pictures.
Oh my gosh.
I want to go for the record
rides.
when we come out. Let's do a photo pace ride.
Yeah.
Wait,
Don't take me on the heavy
do you know,
training.
like, they have some serious hills over there. Like, I don't know. I'm going to start training for this.
All photo pace all the time. So the RX100 is my kind of weapon of choice. I ride with a few guys that have the Ricoh, the GR2 and the GR3, also great little cameras. I mean, the thing is like, the easier it is to access, the more likely you are to get a cool shot. Because at the end of the day, like the best camera is the one you have with you. And like the great thing about an iPhone is that like it's usually really easy to access. And also like, you can bring an iPhone to bear very quickly and fire off a shot very quickly. I mean, there are very few cameras that actually like boot up and extend the lens and then are ready for that first shot as quickly as an iPhone. So the RX100 is relatively quick, and the GR series are pretty quick as well. Those like kind of street style cameras do well. I used to have an X100, but it was just too big. And I found that like it either had to live in a bar bag, which got totally smashed around, or it would be on my back in a strap. And like I said, the strap situation just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I shoot a lot of stuff on the go with the RX. If there's a very specific shot I'm looking after, I have an A7R2 that I'll take out, and that gets slung over my back, and that's like it's an imperfect solution. But yeah, I love the RX. It's quick. It's perfect for Instagram, and but I've been riding since grade school, probably. I kind of got away from it a little bit in college, but I got really involved in the fixed gear, like the brakeless fixed gear track bike scene while I was in Japan, and came back to the United States and got into bike messengering, and then that turned to bike racing, and then I moved to California. And I remember before I moved out to the Bay Area, I asked a buddy of mine who'd just moved away from the Bay Area, and I asked him if the riding was good out here, and he goes, "Yeah, it's pretty good." understatement of the century. Yeah, it's all right. Like it's pretty world class out here. So
Oh my gosh.
I've been lucky to have a bike adjacent lifestyle for a long time. You're riding as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do more mountain biking. The drivers
That's
here in
good that you're part
Nashville.
of the country.
Drivers are scary.
Yeah.
That being said, like I do like gravel road riding. Like you can find some old country roads that like don't have any traffic on them. Other than that, I stick to the trails just because I just don't trust drivers. We've had a lot of incidences here in Nashville, and I don't want to put myself out there. So I sold my road bike actually earlier this year, and then I just picked up a new mountain bike that I'm just in love with, and it's just amazing and so much fun.
I know what it is, but do your listeners know what
I
it
don't
is?
think our listeners know. So I picked up a Salsa, and shoot, for the life of me now, I can't remember what exact model it is, but it's just a beast. I mean, it's a 27.5 tire size, and I didn't go for the 29er just because there's a lot of trees and roots here, so I like to be able to like maneuver around a lot.
Yes,
I personally just like don't feel comfortable with the bigger size, and this was just like a sweet spot. But it's got a dropper post, and I've never had a dropper post, and I didn't know I
had a dropper.
Gosh, like
has a fun button.
Yeah, like I constantly just like go up and down the entire time just for the heck of it. But it is so nice. Like it has changed the game completely. But I do love getting out there. It's fun, and I mean, there's so many trails around here, so many. But yeah, it's a great hobby. Like, and I find that a lot of people. So my brother, he kind of works on bikes. He used to be a bike mechanic and everything. But a lot of people that are into like the mechanics of bikes also really like watches. I've found. So
I feel like it just goes.
It just goes.
Really
well.
It's
one of those things.
Yes.
And now for a quick message from our friends at Topper Jewelers. One of the things that all of us can agree on is when it comes to Seiko, for every budget and for every adventure, there's a Prospex watch that fits the bill. The options are absolutely endless, and Topper Jewelers is making it easier now more than ever to pick up a few highly sought-after Seiko Prospex and Ashton timepieces with their spring vault sale. We've been fortunate enough to spend time with several of these pieces hands-on and have been left quite impressed with the quality and wearability that they have to offer. Looking at the specs of many of these pieces, such as the SBEC 001, it makes sense that they've become a dream for many watch enthusiasts. Inside a case that's truly unique and surprisingly comfortable, you'll find features that are rarely seen at these price points, such as vertical clutch, a ceramic bezel, column wheel chronograph, Seiko 8R49 movement, and much more. So head over to topperjewelers.com for more information about the SBEC 001 and other amazing pieces included in the vault sale. That's topperjewelers.com.
I've always kind of known they existed, but I don't, it probably wasn't until, like I said, when I started writing for Hypebeast that I really started to
dive into
pay
it.
more attention. Yeah, and there was hopefully my wife isn't listening to this or won't or whatever, but there was a girl I was dating at the time a long time ago, after I graduated from college, and I was trying to impress her, and she had recently worked at a jewelry store. She just stopped working at a jewelry store. I was trying to impress her with like my knowledge of, she was always talking about watches and I mean, she really knew her stuff, and they were, I think they were a dealer for Omega and Rolex and a bunch of other brands, and she was always like, this type of person buys a Rolex and this type of person buys an Omega. And I feel like I was very impressionable at the time and wanted to show her that I could do the research and knew how to find something. The things we do to impress a girl or a boy. Exactly. Yeah. So the best I could do with what the budget allowed was a Victorinox Dive Master 500, which it was a quartz movement, but I mean, to this day, I still have the watch.
Nice.
I wanted to find something that was I've always been, my father worked in UDT for the Navy, and so diving and kind of the undersea world has always been a pretty close part of my upbringing. I grew up on the lake in Lake Michigan, and so anyway, I knew it had to be a dive watch, and kind of looking at the quality price spectrum, I just couldn't find anything that could step to that. And quite frankly, having handled and photographed hundreds or thousands, I don't know how many watches I've shot over the years, that thing holds up. I mean, it's really impressive that you can, it's a
I really like Victorinox a lot.
Yeah, really. I mean, they're criminally overlooked. And I've handled some of their recent stuff, and the recent stuff is just as good as this thing, which is probably going on 10 or 15 years old. So anyway, yeah, I shameless plug for VSA, but I mean, really, really high quality for the money. I feel like their products kind of get lost in the like, oh, don't they make the Swiss Army knife? Like, you know,
Yeah.
It's a shame. It's a shame that brands that are known for one thing can't be known for multiple things. I mean, it's the same as like Bulgari, the Octo Finissimo. That watch dunks on anything above 10 grand with ease, but yet people are like, oh, don't they make perfume or like soap or whatever? It's a shame.
Well, it's like even like shame. Chanel that's making these amazing watches now, and then people just don't associate them with like high-end watchmaking, but they're doing some incredible stuff.
Yes, and I mean they're pioneers in ceramic case manufacture.
Yeah, for sure.
Case finishing. It's extremely difficult to finish ceramic cases, and you look at some of the newer J12s. I mean that thing is a work of art. But yeah, I mean Chanel number 5. Is it number 5?
It is number 5.
Okay, all right.
You sounded so confident though. I like that you were just gonna go with it. Whatever. Could be wrong, but let's just.
I know. As soon as I said it, I was like, that came out too easy.
It can't be that easy. No way.
Yeah, exactly.
No, those watches are super cool. They have like the Victorinox. I think it's like the Enox or something like that. I probably pronounced it wrong, but they're like the design of those are super cool, and they've started doing automatic movements too. And I've had a quartz watch that was like the smaller like 37 millimeter ladies version. That thing's like a beast. Like if you're looking at you want like a tool watch, beater watch, it's super tough. They put this like I forgot what they use. They use some sort of coating over the casing and the bracelet and everything, and it really is like scratch resistant. And they put it through a million tests, and you can read about it. But it doesn't get enough love, I think. But it's a pretty awesome watch.
I mean, I'm pretty sure in the testing process for the Inox, they literally run it over with the tank.
Something like that, yeah.
They simulate all these like insane torture tests. And I mean, that watch is kind of the G-Shock of the mechanical or analog world.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody should have one.
I think they're pretty cool.
I mean, I guess I should have one. I've shot a few over the I've shot a few of those as well, but that's a dope watch for sure.
Well, very cool. And then, so I guess from that point, did you like take a liking to watches after buying Victorinox?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. So that, and again, after you've spent any amount of time in the forums, I did a lot of research on. Then it was there were a few different watch forums at the time. Time Zone obviously being one, but Watch You Seek, and that was again, all of this was well before Instagram became its own watch world sub community. So a lot of the information that you're getting are from like uber passionate, like hyper grumpy old guys who are like and there's always
basically it has a page in the forum essentially.
And to a point that you made before we started recording, like there was just as much drama then about their watches, dudes, like these guys
watches. Why is there so much drama amongst grown men over watches? I don't get it. Grown men, come on, dude. Like, man, there are Sundays that I will turn off, like, Keeping Up with the Kardashians or whatever shit drama TV that I just like to watch to escape, and I'll just get in the watch forums because that drama is way juicier than anything I see on TV. You men, get your shit together.
I can't disagree with that. I'm not, I've had numerous conversations at length about like why this is, and I think part of it is some watches are very expensive, and so money and inherent like self-worth is unfortunately tied to a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. There is like a class system within it, so ego is naturally a part of this, unfortunately, as well. But like a lot of the personalities are like hyper drawn to drama over insignificant things, and that's stunningly painful. And I think for me, what I really love about what Instagram has done is that, I mean, this is a great example of how we became connected and how people throughout the watch fam kind of become connected, in that Instagram is this community more than it is, an arbiter of style and taste and wealth and all. I mean, it is all of those things in their own pockets for sure. But I think the things that draw the vast majority of us together and through that channel are for the community. So like, it's weird. It's so weird that the drama and the ego has its own stage over here, and then you have the rest of us over here being like, what are you guys fighting about again? Why? Why is that important? Oh man.
Yeah, it's a completely different world. And I think at the end of the day, everyone's trying to validate what they like and what they have, and everyone gets really defensive about it. And I've kind of learned to let that go, because I definitely could have been that way several years back. But it's like this, especially the watches that are made nowadays, for the most part, if you're looking at most of the luxury brands, I mean, yes, there's some that are light years ahead of others, but for the most part, like these steel sports watches, they're all amazing pieces. Yeah. You have an amazing watch, and you have an amazing watch. Yeah. Like, let it be that. Like, no one's better than the other. Like, this is cool in its own way, and this is cool in its own way. Like, I just don't. And I mean, like I said, there are some that are moving forward with technology, but for the most part, and for like what the majority of people like, dude, you have a cool watch. Awesome. Yeah. Just be happy.
I'm going to say three words that will blow everybody's mind. Agree to disagree. That's it. This is the problem in general. People don't know how to do that. Just agree. It's fine. We don't have to like the same things. Yeah. We don't have to fight about it either. Nobody changed anybody's mind on the internet. Right. At no point have you ever gotten into a fight with somebody at a watch forum and they said, well, hell, you know what? You're actually right. At that point, out of principle, I know that I'm crazy. I know that I'm wrong, but I'm gonna dig in my heels and I'm just gonna keep on going, and that's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. That's so. I mean, it's it's funny. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in the photography world. Like that's the thing when somebody asks what you shoot with or what the best thing is the thing on your wrist. The best thing is the camera in your pocket. The best thing is the thing that you use the most or gives you the most joy. And I love that you said that this is so absolutely true about watches as it is about cameras. I mean, all cameras now are excellent. I mean, they're objectively excellent, and it really just comes down to owning the thing that you're going to use the most, or that will grow with you, or that will give you the most joy. I mean, it can't possibly be simpler than that, and it shouldn't be. There's no more to it.
I totally agree. Yeah.
At this point, that's it. Like, it really is just people's opinions. But so we were talking about how you got into watches before we got on this whole this whole conversation about watch drama. All right, so you got in the forums after you had purchased your Victorinox, and then go.
Oh boy.
First like luxury watch purchase. What was that?
Ooh.
Yeah, it was an Oris TT1.
Nice.
Again, sticking with the diver, but also did a ton of research and found and anyone who enters Instagram now or the forums or anything who does any amount of research is going to find that not just VSA. I mean, there's a ton more options now, obviously, but Oris still is, as it was then, an exceptional value, quality, etc., etc. And I think it was a TT1, so it predated the Aquis it was the previous generation. So it had, but it still kind of had the same design. And if you look for the TT1 diver, it looks a lot like the Aquis now. It still kind of has that like tea kettle shaped case, which is really cool. It still has the horned lugs. Unfortunately, I don't have that anymore. I do have an Aquis now, but so Oris has always been kind of close to my heart, and I think from there, after I got the Oris, it was all bets were off. Like, after you kind of get the taste. So yeah, I picked up a Tudor Pelagos and a Seamaster Planet Ocean in relatively short order after that, and I kind of went with those three for a fair amount of time, and then. I at that point posting on Instagram and things had taken off to a point where there started to be more watch media available and more information to consume that wasn't just on the forums, and it became easier to like learn about more brands. And at that point, you're like, well, I want to try this and try that, and I don't know. I think like a lot of collectors, there comes a point where after you've kind of owned not one of everything, but you've kind of tried all this stuff. I mean, it's funny that a lot of the purchasing or acquisition behavior is not to satisfy a specific need or to be like, I want to have this until I die or give this to my kids someday. Like, it's just kind of like, well, I want to see what this is like. So
yeah,
there's a lot of just kind of tire kicking for a few years. So I definitely had a phase of tire kicking, and I feel like I've settled into a point where I'm really happy with what I have, and I don't buy anywhere near as much or as often as I do before. And it definitely helps to be able to go to the shows and shoot a lot of the new stuff, so you can sort of get an impression of what it's like without having to buy it and sell something and move stuff around. So yeah, it's in a way it's been a relief to not have to feel discontent.
We get it.
You know what I'm talking. I mean, yeah. So I mean, you guys were able to shoot you've been able to shoot some of the like the Oruses and have kind of come and gone, it sounds like, in Doxa, judging from your Instagram recently. So those are two good itches to scratch that, like, after it goes, you're like, if it sticks with you, then
exactly.
You think, well, maybe
and we
These
were like,
are the problems.
we were having this
Everything
conversation.
to stick.
Yeah, everything sticks.
Yeah, if a few months pass by and you're like, man, I've still got this watch in my mind, like I just can't get rid of it. I think it's like you know at this point you want that watch,
right?
But I mean, I feel like there's no better litmus test than that, because I mean, again, like I thought this then, and I still think it now, but like, you know, the things that we buy, you should try to picture yourself with it 3 to 5 years from now, and so I feel like that automatically raises the bar a little bit for a lot of the impulse stuff. And oftentimes, like, I've been guilty of this numerous times, but I find, you know, when news kind of hits the channels, like, immediately I'm like, oh man, I gotta have that, or I gotta try that, or I want to try that. But I feel like if you sleep on it a little bit, and to your point, Caitlin, like once it kind of sticks with you and you're still thinking about it after a few days or weeks or whatever, then it's like, okay, maybe this is something I should probably attend to.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about A Blog to Watch. How long? I mean, you've been with them for quite a while, right?
Yeah, I have, and it's funny. So the fact that I was an Oris owner, kind of early on, and have long been familiar with the brand, it only seemed like it was kind of the universe pushing me in that direction, because I kind of became an avid A Blog to Watch reader, because again, you know, at the time of watch media, there were very few outlets doing what Ariel was doing, and he kind of had cornered the blogging. It used to be it used to be called A Blog to Read, which maybe not the best name, Ariel, but
but he fixed it. We're all good.
He fixed it. Yeah, it wasn't A Blog to Eat or A Blog to Swim. It was. So yeah, it's A Blog to Watch now. But anyway, back then, again, there just wasn't much information, but it always seemed like, for whatever I was searching for, Ariel always had a story about it, whether it was like the funky Orient dive watches or it was stuff that Omega was doing way back in the day. Like, he always had content about it that nobody else had, which I thought was kind of cool. And he hosted a contest with Oris for like a dive certification contest. And A Blog to Watch still traditionally, we do a monthly contest for our readers. Usually we give away a watch. Once or twice a year, we give away an experience. And I happened to be the lucky winner of the experience a good number of years ago. This is 5 or 6 years ago. And I went to Grand Cayman with the Oris team. VJ wasn't there, unfortunately, but he was with the organization then. And but I went to Grand Cayman and completed my scuba dive certification, which at the time I'd been kind of halfway through. And I scuba dove at a very early age. My father taught me how, sort of off the books, just in one of the lakes near where I grew up. So I've always been dive adjacent, but didn't have the paperwork that said I could go to, like, you know, and rent the gear and do the stuff. So anyway, I completed my certification with Oris and met Ariel while I was down there, and we became friends, and I wrote a story about that experience, and that was my first published Blog to Watch piece. And then over the years we kind of stayed close, and I freelanced on and off for them for a while, and then 2 years ago I signed on for a bigger editorial role that now kind of encompasses social media and content creation. And I work closely with brands on sponsored stuff, which enables me to shoot a lot of cool lifestyle programming for various companies. And it's been super fun to be watch adjacent, but not like at my desk shooting wrist shots all day. Like, I can actually, you know, if we're kind of working on a campaign or something around more lifestyle programming, that's been really fun. and I've got a bunch of shots from a very new collection of watches. I'm not sure if I can formally say that I shot them, but I'm gonna put them on my Instagram. So I guess so. I shot all the new Seiko stuff for Seiko. So we shot all the Seiko stuff for Blog to Watch, but we also did a side campaign for Seiko.
Oh, sweet.
That's crazy.
Really, really thrilled with. And it shot everything in quarantine essentially, where you don't really have access to models, and so I'm hoping they use a lot of the backyard self-timer shots that look a lot more elaborate than they actually are, because those are the most complex. So, used to shooting with models, 'cause it's a little bit easier, obviously. But so yeah, we had to get kind of creative on putting those together. So that's kind of in a nutshell. That's been my Blog to Watch experience now and sort of moving forward. But yeah, it's been quite a ride for sure, and continues to be.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. You started out as a fan, and now you are, one of the editors and photographers.
Yeah,
it's completely crazy.
Yeah. It's like,
but I mean, what you've done is the same, though. I mean, you started out as fans, and you've kind of created your own community within. I mean, you created a company, you created a programming around all of this, but you have your own community, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy sometimes.
It's so crazy.
Sometimes.
Like we have brands that reach out to us, and we're just like picking up our jaws off the floor sometimes.
If everybody knew how, if brands could see us, they'd be like, why are we talking to them?
Yeah.
Because we call each other, we get the emails. It comes to our phones at the exact same time, and we're instantly on the phone with each other. Like, oh my God. I remember when VJ from Oris emailed us or DM'd us on Instagram, and I was at work in my back office. I yelled out, people at work heard me. I'm like, it's fine. It's no big deal. It's fine.
Yeah.
All's good.
That's amazing. No, that's amazing. And I feel like the punchline here is that watch brands respect passion. And I feel like at any level, it matters less. And the longer I've spent in the industry, the more I realize that it matters less about specific metrics and more about passion and the type of community that you are curating, because those are the communities that the brands want to see their products juxtaposed against. Yeah. And you guys have done an amazing job of creating that. And that absolutely deserves respect.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
you're to make us cheer up.
It's very appreciated.
Yeah, very muchly so.
So, quarantine, I think, has all had us a little bit jonesing for some new pieces. I think me and Catelyn have both, we caved, we caved.
So bad.
What about you? Is there anything that has come in recently or is incoming soon?
Oh, man. That's a great question. I feel like, the Seamaster Planet Ocean, going back to my story about the first watch, the Seamaster Planet Ocean I bought for my 30th birthday, which seems like it was a really long time ago now. So I've always, before that though, I'd always, an Omega Seamaster dive watch was, at the time I was like, well, I'll buy that, and then I'll get out of this silly hobby.
Yeah,
Omega was always kind of, and that's what we all say. And look, here we are recording a podcast about watches. Yeah, just this one. So Omega's kind of always been the brand for me. So I always look most forward to their releases every year. I feel like I knew about Omega from a pretty young age, and so it's just one of those things where when something kind of digs into the back of your mind, it's really hard to, for a lot of people that's Rolex, and for some people it's Tag Heuer, et cetera, on down the line. For me, it's always been Omega. And so yeah, I always kind of wait to see what they release before I kind of, see if there's any holes in the collection. And I feel like I'm still holding my cards for what's to come. And I know some of what's to come, and I don't know all of it. And I think they also, I know they have more of a plan now than they did probably 3 months ago. So I'm in sort of a holding pattern for some of that. But if it's for right now, I know this is maybe not the most exciting answer, but I actually really want the Aquaterra World Timer.
I'm obsessed with that watch.
Oh my
it's
God,
my
it's
favorite
so
watch in
good.
the world right now. I just tried it on the other day, and oh my
So
God,
good.
it's perfection.
I shot the gold version of it last fall.
Okay.
And I used to have the Aquaterra GMT, which to this day is I think it's an Explorer killer. It's it's a hell of a movement. It's like this
big though.
I had the
That's
Good Planet
the thing
one.
that it has
It's
against
so
the Explorer.
huge.
It's 43
Yeah.
millimeters, and it's not thin either.
Well, no, it's not thin, but it's long. It has a lug to lug of almost 55 millimeters, and so that was
big.
the killer. I don't mind the thickness or the. I mean, I actually kind of prefer a slightly larger watch.
I like big watches, but
yeah. It was too long. Anyway, but the new Aquaterra, as you know, is way shorter, and it's still kind of thick, but it wears so much better.
42, right? Is it a 42? What is
the
it?
World Timer
is
43.
The World Timer is still 43, but it has a shorter lug to lug.
It's shorter lug to lug.
It's
It
really
looks good
compact.
on you.
Yeah. Thanks. I think so too.
And it's a World Timer. Like,
Yeah.
when we're not
Right.
traveling right now. I mean,
But I want to know what time it is in other places.
exactly.
That I'm not going to.
So I feel like the World Timer, I'm calling it right now.
Yeah.
I feel like the World Timer is the complication of 2020, because a lot of people say
Nice.
like, oh, World Timers are great for travelers. I'm like, actually, World Timers kind of suck for travelers. Like, you need home time and you need local time.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't need to know what time it is in Buenos Aires. Unless you're in Buenos Aires, you need to know what time it is back home and where you are. 2 time zones. That's an Explorer 2. That's a GMT Master. That's an Aquaterra GMT, etc. On and down the line. The World Timer is perfect for when you're at home and you're trying to figure out like what time a colleague is, you know, where it is, where he is. You've got all these Zoom calls that you're scheduling across
It's
different zones.
justified. I need this watch.
It's
Yeah.
totally
Can I write this off as a
justified.
business
Yes.
expense?
Yes,
I'll look
you
into
can.
it.
Thanks,
As
accountant.
your tax advisor.
Oh, okay.
For
Right.
2020. Yes, you can and you
If
should.
I spend 2021 in a federal prison for a tax fraud,
Yeah.
y'all send me letters, entertain me.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I love that you've had a chance. Where were you able to try it on? Because I feel like those are still. I guess the dial's a lot harder to manufacture than I thought it was, and they're not. They're still not readily available.
Yeah, I was able to try it on at an AD here in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
At the
nice.
boutique here.
So Rob had one last week or 2 weeks ago, and a couple days after he posted on Instagram, I texted him and I was like, "Hey, do you still have that World Timer?" And he goes, "No." And I don't know if he said no because he didn't want to sell it to me, or if he was doing both of us a favor that no. And honestly, when he said no, I was like, "Oh, good, actually." So now I don't have to sell something and like
And
move some stuff.
Can we
around
talk
to
about how
justify
good it is on the rubber strap? Like, I haven't even seen
It's
it on the
so
bracelet,
good.
but the rubber strap, like, there's just something about
Yes.
it. The dial has such a great, like, kind of fanciness to the detail and the laser bladed, like, globe on it. And then you pair it with a rubber strap. Like, it is so boss.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
obsessed with it.
Yes.
I need it.
Yeah. And not only is it boss, I swear that the designers sat back down at the drawing board and they said, like, look, this watch, it's going to be 43 millimeters. It's inescapable. How can we make it more wearable?
Yeah.
And that is, to be fair, like one of my favorite things about Omega that, like, I think we were trading messages about this on Instagram recently, Kat, but we were talking about Speedmasters. And I said that, like, there's a Speedmaster for everybody. There's a buttload of Speedmasters out there, but, like, because there's so many, there's one for everyone. You just have to find
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, Omega has, they're constantly fine-tuning, they're constantly tweaking the knobs just to see what works and what fits. And what I love about that particular watch is they looked at the older Aquaterras and they said, like, people couldn't wear those. So how do we make it better? And so that rubber strap is like the direct result of them making the strap, make sure it drops directly vertically off the wrist so that, the lug to lug wears true. Because I've seen, watches that have short lug to lug, but the strap attachment point is kind of hokey and it flares out. And I mean, the Seamaster 300, the vintagey one, the Master Coax kind of had a problem with the bracelet, so it wears better on a strap. But anyway, yeah, so long story short, tax write-off.
All right. My accountant says it's fine, so.
That's right, yeah.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
They do a really
Yeah.
cool thing too with I love how, like, with the Aquaterras in general, like the rubber strap is almost integrated into the case.
Yeah.
It makes it seem, it's very like aquanautish, but I don't know, it just kind of gives me that feeling of it's more luxury. They
agree.
really thought about how it was going to fit.
I was just
I
talking
totally
about
agree.
this the other day that I am really a little irritated that I have such an older Aquaterra because now that they have the rubber
Yeah.
strap is a game changer for the Aquaterra.
Yeah, I mean, for the
Like,
price point too, like those
so good.
Aquaterras are like, they're beasts. Like, it's such an amazing watch,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they get massively overlooked. I mean, if you look at the specs on those things, and then you compare it to like an Explorer or even like Tudor, I mean, the Omega to me just blows them out of the water. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I
think they're
totally
cool.
agree. I totally agree. You know, it's funny too, because there are some brands that are doing this better than others, but it's weird. And the same thing goes for cars, and the same thing goes for bikes, and for anything with a contact point. But like, when you look at, you can spend years and years designing like the ultimate car or like the most amazing bicycle, but like if you put it on crappy tires, the ride quality is going to be awful.
Yeah.
And it's going to undermine how stiff the bike is, or how responsive, or how sexy. You know, it undermines everything if you put crappy tires on it. And I feel like there's so many watch brands. It's the same thing with the strap. Like, the strap can undermine the entire experience of wearing the watch. And Omega understands that like a good strap makes for a good watch wearing experience, no matter how dope the watch is. Like, if the strap sucks. So I love it that they're putting more time into these things, and some brands are better at it than others. But to your point about the integration, how it truly actually feels like one thing, like one kind of symbiotic thing, as opposed to like a watch head plus a strap equals this. Like, they were designed in conjunction with each other, and that's radical. Like, absolutely down for that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, for sure.
Yep. Yeah, it's been fun too. So I loaned my the integrated rubber strap that came on my ceramic Seamaster to our buddy. You guys know Watch on My Wrist, at Watch on My Wrist, Justice.
Yeah.
I loaned my strap to him, and then like the day that it arrived, he put it on his Speedy. He's got a Speedmaster Racing, the new 9900
Yes,
Speedmaster Racing.
it looks
He-
stupid good.
He put the rubber strap on that, and it looks so tight.
It's
and he
so
texted me back immediately, and
amazing.
he was like, "I'm gonna have to buy this from you because you're not getting it back."
It's so good.
So,
It's the best
super
combo.
good.
It really is.
In a while that I've seen,
is.
as far as something like
I
that goes. I would have
totally
never
agree.
thought about pairing those two.
No,
never
never.
would have thought
And
about
I think it works especially well with that racing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, yeah, it's cool to see like the design homogeny extend between collections, between the Seamaster and the Speedmaster. I mean, I doubt they did that on purpose, but quite frankly, I
highly
doubt
doubt they
more
did that
brands
on
did
purpose.
this.
But they should. More brands really should.
They should.
Because especially
Totally
for
agree.
it's such a little detail, and most people would never care. But the enthusiasts, we care.
Yeah.
Like, I want
Yeah.
to be able to mix up my straps between my watches of one certain
Yeah.
brand. Like, I have 3 Omegas, and it would be nice if these were more interchangeable than what they are. I can interchange them with other straps all day long, and Lord knows I do, but it would be nice if like I could take the bracelet on one watch and put it on another, and I don't know, I definitely like that idea.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I get that the brands want to protect, again, going back to the wearing experience, they want to protect the wearing experience of that particular piece, but also like the counterpoint to that is I spent a lot of money on this thing, like I should be able to do with it
For
whatever
real.
I want. Like a great example, like Longa just put out the new Odysseus from Longa, their integrated bracelet sports watch. So now it's available in gold with an integrated rubber strap, and that strap does not interface with the stainless steel one.
Oh.
Shut up! No way.
They are adamant.
I
They're
had
adamant
no
that this,
idea.
Yeah,
That's
they're adamant that
petty.
these two. It's petty. That's exactly
is
what
so
it is.
petty.
It's
That's
super
childish.
petty. Yeah.
Man.
I mean, because people who bought the stainless steel one are going to be like, I want
Yeah.
to put this on rubber.
I
And they're
think
gonna be
it
like,
looks
"Sorry,
like
dude."
better.
Gosh.
Yeah.
How dare they?
I totally agree.
So petty.
Yeah.
These greedy
Yeah.
brains. What the hell?
Yeah. Super drama, right?
Drama.
Drama
What?
for
Come
drama's
on,
sake.
man.
Full circle.
Whatever. So ridiculous.
Exactly.
All right. Well, as we begin to bring this to a close, a sad close,
Oh,
I should
I am
say.
sad,
Yeah, because we could probably
actually.
talk for like 3 hours.
I'm very sad.
we
You'll have to come to Marin. We'll have to pick this
Oh
up
my
over
gosh.
oysters.
Absolutely.
Oysters
It's going down.
sound like life right
Yes.
now.
It's going down.
Totally, yeah. What, Rob? When is the next topper?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I know. This is the
I feel
content.
like we
this
need
is the
to-
content Instagram needs.
Yes, we need to get Rob on top of some new limited edition. Hurry this the heck up so that we can come out to California. Instagram needs us in California.
You might not have to wait for too long, though. So
Yeah, we have
well,
a
I gotta
feeling.
clear my schedule.
yeah. I can't tease this, but I can't tease this just yet. But hopefully we'll be able to travel in an undisclosed amount of time.
Yeah.
So that
Hopefully-
an undisclosed LE.
All right.
I think I've said too much already.
He's like, cut this, cut it out.
Got it. Yeah, let's not
Get it
include
out.
that in
Rob
the
listens
podcast.
to the podcast. Get it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get a text message.
It's fine. You know what we're doing? We're creating excitement. We're gonna make
That's
sure
right.
that it sells
That's
out
right.
immediately.
Yeah.
So you're
That's
welcome,
right. Let's
Rob.
build some buzz. That's right.
Oh man. Well, let's
geez.
do our quick little fire round that we do. So me and Catelyn will just like ask you
cool.
a few questions, and you just answer as fast as you can. It's just a little fun thing we've been doing with some of our guests.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's been really fun. All right. So Zach,
Right.
what is
These are the
your
questions my agent warned me about.
Exactly.
Agent. Oh my god.
That's right.
As you
That's
had
right.
us like our call was ignored because you're
Twice.
so popular that
Twice.
if we don't talk regularly on the phone, your phone automatically ignores unknown numbers.
That's right. That's
Meanwhile,
right.
I've
I
got
know,
every
this-
telemarketer blowing me up during this podcast. I'm like, whatever. Sorry, we're not as popular to
I
have
know.
that sort of
It's
phone
a
system.
it's a plugin. It's actually a plugin from Kim Kardashian's app that hacks your phone and.
The fact that you know this, that you had,
This-
you're
I
such
made that up.
you're
This is
such
not a
an
real thing.
influencer that you would have,
This is-
you're in contact with Kim Kardashian's people to find out how she ignores all of these phone calls.
Oh my god! I know. This is not a thing. I know, but let's make everybody think it is. for
Exactly.
sure. All right, lightning
100%.
round. Sorry,
All right, let's go.
I've derailed this for long enough.
All right. So favorite emoji.
Oh man, it's the shrugging guy for sure.
I feel
Shrugging
that
guy.
for sure.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
That's my everyday.
Beach or the mountains?
Sorry, what?
Beach
what?
or the mountains?
Oh, for the emoji.
No, for you. This is all right.
Beach or the
Question number 2: would you rather be at the beach or in the?
Oh, beach or in the mountain. Oh,
Is my
shoot.
southern accent that bad?
Yeah. I thought you said "Beat to the Mountain," and I was like, I don't know that song. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Definitely the accent for sure.
Man.
Beach, yeah, beach. For
Beach.
me.
Okay. I think
yes.
that's surprising. I thought that you were gonna pick mountains for sure.
Yeah,
But-
my wife mountain. So that's we're like oil and water, beach and mountain. So I'm the beach and she's the mountain, and we have all. That's the thing. So beach for me.
Awesome. All right. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh. Yeah, damn, I wish I could remember the movie. There's some movie. Sorry, this is not a lightning round answer, but
You're fine.
maybe you guys have
They
seen
never
it.
are.
It's where the guys have the superpower where they can teleport. They like zap themselves all around the world. And I
what
remember
was
seeing
that
that movie.
movie?
It was just like my
Jumper?
life is so lame.
Or is it like
no, it's not
I Am
Jumper.
5 or something like that? What?
No.
Who was in it?
What was it? There's a and so he has the power and he like zaps himself into like a bank safe and takes a bunch of money and then like zaps himself to the top of the pyramids.
I'm
and then
pretty
he's-
that was
it was just-
Jumper.
That sounds like Jumper,
Jumper?
actually.
all right.
It has
the movie itself wasn't great.
Anakin
Yeah,
Skywalker.
right?
Yeah, come on. That's the most
That
killer
actually-
Oh
shit.
yeah,
That's
like
a good
literally
one.
the movie promo is him on top of the pyramid.
yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. And then there's like jumper cops that try to like catch them in nets in like these like jumper
That's a
nets.
good one.
Yeah, it's not a great movie, but the power is dope.
The power is
The
cool.
power
I'm
would
sure
be
what I would
so
do.
dope.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah,
what
it's
did
kind of a blank check.
what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh man. I grew up watching the Cousteau films like Silent World and so I definitely wanted to. I thought I was going to be like a marine scientist.
Everybody wanted
And
to be something so cool.
Yeah, everybody wanted to be a marine
Man.
scientist. I feel like well, the thing is though, and this is another thing that I love about the Bay Area is in Finding Dory, the the aquatic park and all the marine science stuff. That's just like an hour south of here.
Oh.
Like that.
The
all of
actual
that
park
culture
for
and
the
the
movie?
research. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's actually framed after the Monterey Aquarium, and even some of the locations like that research center. I did a whale watching thing last year that
All right,
launched.
Rob, we need to be in California,
I know,
okay?
I know. This needs to
Let's
be a
get
thing,
on
yeah.
this.
It's a real thing. So, but yeah, I feel like I live where I always felt that I wanted to be or felt that I was drawn to the most.
The Beatles or the Stones?
I'm sorry, what are stones?
I think it's our accents. The
He's
no, We have to redo our questions. Nobody even understands what the fuck we're saying. Oh, man.
But the accents are such a strong part of your brand. It's what's made this conversation such a treat. So
I know.
we have to just go with it.
Did you seriously not hear
No,
that?
he seriously did not.
The Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Oh, that's a good one. Probably the Stones. Yeah, the Stones.
Kat is literally wearing a Rolling Stones t-shirt today.
Oh, good. Okay.
Which
I
is
thought you were
right.
going
Which
to say
is
Kat
funny,
is
'cause
literally
I, like-
wearing a Yellow Submarine shirt and you're dead to me.
No, it's funny. Like I have so much like Rolling Stones like shirts and hats and stuff, but then I would pick the Beatles.
I feel I
Yeah.
feel like if you're a fan of one, you're a fan of both.
You are, yeah,
realistically.
definitely.
Yeah, that's kind of true. That's a great point. That's kind of
Yeah.
true. Because I mean, I was gonna say that like I like the Stones because of the experimentation and all the, but I also like the Beatles are also wildly experimentative or experimental, and yeah, I don't know. I went down a rabbit hole of Jagger's wedding. I can't remember which bride it was. the famous wedding that they flew everybody out to, and it was supposed to be a secret. And then like on the you've seen the pictures of Jagger in the taxi or in like the back of the car with his bride, the dress and like his style. The Make actually just did something on it really recently. I'm kind of undermining my credibility, but by not knowing the specific details of the location or even the name of his bride. But the fact that like I love all the kind of counterculture stuff that comes with the Stones as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
Very true.
So I don't know, music style, all that kind of ingrained. So anyway, that was a great question.
All right. Well, not as deep a question. Pizza or burgers?
Burgers.
Mm.
All right. If you could be reincarnated as an animal, what would it be?
Oh no. Oh man. Probably an octopus. Not to like.
Who else said this?
Not to like.
Someone else said
Not
this.
to slap the
I
like
don't think
marine
so,
science
but there was
label
a
so
random-
hard.
An octopus. Okay, so can you? I know
Yeah.
this is not going to be. None of this is lightning round. I don't know why we call it lightning round, but can you explain why an octopus?
I feel like in the animal kingdom, at least my experience in the animal kingdom, having seen them in the wild. I was on a night dive in Indonesia a couple years ago, and I swung my light. It's kind of cool when you're diving. Diving at night is a totally different experience because you see different critters, and the critters are usually in more of their natural habitat. They're not running from you. They are not like they're either hunting or they're doing more of like they're taking in their world. And so I feel like night diving is a better way to see kind of a lot of these critters as they are, so to speak. And I swung my light over on like a big coral head, and there was an octopus. I've never been able to see an octopus outside of this single experience, and he was perched on top of this coral head, just looking at me. And it was amazing because there's an intelligence in the way that they look at you and the way that to me it was the most like there is a higher form of intelligence in the animal kingdom that I had come in contact with. And I know there's a ton of other really intelligent animals. There are raccoons that literally like wash their hands outside our kitchen. Like I've been watching deer and hummingbirds and all the animals. Like all this work from home time has really forced me to kind of participate in this like kind of Fern Gully conversation in the place where we live. But the octopus is the one that really stands out as a truly like higher intelligence. And I would urge everyone to read, there's this amazing book called Soul of an Octopus. You can probably get it for $10 on Amazon or less. And it follows a researcher, a writer, as she kind of works with researchers around octopus behavior, essentially. And it's beautiful. It's like really cleverly written. The animal behavior is really incredible, and there's so much going on in an octopus's brain that we can't either comprehend or don't understand or simply don't know yet. And I kind of love that about them. So I don't know. That's the long answer.
That's fantastic.
No, it's very interesting for sure. Okay, so what is your secret talent?
Oh crap.
I feel like the first answer to every one of your questions has been "oh crap."
I feel like I don't think this is a talent. I feel like I have pretty decent reflexes, and like a glass will fall out of the cupboard and I will catch it, and no one ever sees me catch it, and I feel like I have this like spider
Spidey sense.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where like, you know, you catch it and you immediately look to see if your significant other's in earshot or within view. Like, did you see that? Did you see this amazing thing?
Look what I did.
It never happens. Yeah, look what I did. I have.
If you dropped it, though, she would see that.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't hear about the stuff I break.
And then favorite snack.
Ooh, I'm super into these Annie's. I think they're Annie's Cheetos. Yeah, the cheese puffs.
Oh yeah.
Cheese
I do know
puffs.
what
I
you're
think
talking
Annie's
about.
is a Berkeley company. Yeah, I mean, if you go to Whole Foods, they're like the bougie Cheetos,
Bougie
basically.
snacks.
So like, you could buy Cheetos for $1, or you could. I think they're literally like $5 a bag, but they're the best ones. The cheese is very natural tasting. The crisp, it doesn't matter. This is the best snack.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
These are the heavy hitting questions you can expect from us.
I know. That's what we're here for. Buy these Cheetos.
Buy the Cheetos. Last question. Where is the first place you're going once stay at home is totally lifted? Like, where are you heading?
Man. So that's like legit a super hard question. But I really there's a lot of places, but practically speaking, and we're talking about not just like driving down the road. If I could get on a plane, the first place that I want to go right now is actually I really want to do a hut backpacking trip in Austria. And Austria, of all of the European countries, handled this crisis really, really well. They got to it early. They had a low number of cases. They opened late. They did all the stuff right that, you know, most of us probably should have done. You know, Vienna is home to NATO, I think, or the UN, maybe both. So I feel like kind of being they sort of had to set an example. Anyway, Austria did really well. I've been dying to do like a proper European like hut backpacking adventure, because there you can hike, you know, a good number of miles a day and just go hut to hut, and you don't have to carry all your backpacking stuff. And as much as I enjoy backpacking camping, you know, you're slogging a lot of gear just so that you can carry all your food, water, and stuff. So I'd love to be able to do like a fast packing trip and stay in a hut every night and do like a proper loop. And there's some really epic stuff in and around Austria. So it's practical in the sense that they handled the crisis well, and it's also just been on my list for a long time to do that type of adventure. So that's
really cool.
That's it for sure.
Well, this has been
fun.
So fun. Like, I'm really bummed that it has to end. Yeah. Obviously, like, we can chat on the phone. But I guess for the rest of you guys, sorry it has to end. Thanks to me all. But...
Well, it's been an absolute treat. And I, again, extending the invitation, the next time either of you are out in the Bay Area, we can do like the locals only deep cuts, all the secret photo and adventure zones here.
Yes.
Well, we're there.
Plenty.
Count us in.
Yes,
fit us into your super busy schedule. Work us in there. But yeah, we are totally there.
I'll have my people send it to your people.
Oh, nice.
We don't have people. We are our people. So we don't have the super secret Kardashian app or anything like that. Right. Sorry. But probably should have.
And so it goes.
At some point.
That's how it goes.
All right. Well,
I love it. Well, thank you again. I appreciate all of this.
No, most definitely. Thank you very much. And everybody, make sure that you head over to our website, www.10and2.com, and that's spelled TENN, and check out our show notes. We'll have tons of fun pictures and notes from this episode. And make sure you follow us over on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, because we're there too.
Yeah.
At 10 and 2 Media. So I think that's it.
That's it.
All right. Well, we'll be talking to you guys next time. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.